Today we are in Caledonia, Wisconsin, and we are going to a very, very small cemetery. This is in Racine County, just not too far from Lake Michigan. And this cemetery is called the Holy Family Catholic Cemetery. And I think this is about the smallest cemetery that I have ever been to. And we are looking for Gail Creek, who was murdered back in 1997. We're in. The story of Gail Creek. Her nickname was Aimee. Amber was born in July of 1982 to a mother who was on drugs, and until she was 6 years old, she had to endure the punishment of living with that, and worse, a boyfriend who was a pedophile. So we can only imagine what went on in that household. Poor Amber. And I say 6 years old is when she was released from that prison, and I think it was a forced issue that she would be moved from Park Ridge, which is actually near where the Silas Jane stables were. We had in a prior video. I told you a lot of bad stuff happened there, although the worst was to come in this case. She went to live with her father, and he seemed like a good guy, working class guy, but after a while she was scarred from that, and she started showing some troubling signs. Doing drugs, hanging out with the wrong people, running away, coming back, always coming back. But her father had her seen a therapist for a while, and the therapist just said, you know, you really need to put her in this program. And the program cost it was one of these programs where you went in and you were locked in, and it was about $40,000 or $50,000 deal, and there was no way he could afford it. And sadly, and I can't imagine doing this, but he, I don't want to say gave up on her. I mean, we don't know the circumstances, but he went to can you imagine? He took her to the police station, and I believe it was Palatine. He lived in Palatine, and he told the police, you know, I can't take care of her anymore. She's your problem. She is a ward of the state. So she ended up in a reformatory or a home, and predictably things were not going to get better. Things were going to get worse. Same pattern, running away, doing drugs, wrong people, coming back. And but then came a time in 97 when she was 14 years old. She did not come back. She had disappeared. And it turned out later it was determined she was at a party in Rolling Meadows. Rolling Meadows is right next to south of Palatine, not right next to, a couple doors down of suburbs, and she was at a party with a bunch of guys, a bunch of drugs, and she, what a beautiful pine tree. And by the way, this is a very small cemetery. You would drive right by it, never see it. She disappeared, and what's sickening, this kind of stuff drives me nuts. Just incompetence in the first order. The home, didn't report her missing for 5 weeks. I mean, come on. And then to make matters worse, and this is the worst, is what did they do? And the police were great. They took an interest. And they gave them the wrong picture, the wrong girl. So fast forward a little bit longer, and you get to February, and which is freezing cold around here. And from this cemetery in Caledonia, about 35 miles that way to the southwest, there is a park, nature preserve. Forget what it's called. They, 2 hunters were in there, and they found the most gruesome sight. I mean, listen to this. This is what really caught me. They walked up and they saw an arm sticking up. Now again, February, and I think she'd been missing not a long time, so her body was preserved and frozen. They saw an arm sticking up like it was waving. Like it was waving. And they got closer, and they determined that it was a body, and of course they reported it when the police came. I mean, listen to this. The hand had, in black marker, the word hi, H-I, written in the palm, like she was propped up against a tree. And I've heard of this before. Some of these killers, they save souvenirs. Some of them, even these serial killers, leave the body a certain way to horrify those who find it. Anyway, this was definitely the case here. Not a serial killer necessarily, but not only was her hand up and the word hi in her palm, there was on her other arm, there was a price tag from Woodfield Shopping Mall. It's down in Schaumburg. It said $5 price on her arm. And the most gruesome part was when they pulled the plastic bag that was over her head. A plastic bag, by the way, that would prove instrumental in the case. They found a human bite mark on her neck, like a really deep bite mark. Just this perverted creep, whoever did this. And he was caught. So they did the missing persons check and all that, and they unfortunately, because of thanks to the state-run child home, they were clueless. So she was buried here. I don't know if she was buried here, but she was buried near here. I mean, that's why she would be up here. This is Racine County, not far from where it happened. And it was an unmarked grave, and it was Jane Doe. But 100 people turned out for the 100 people turned out for the funeral. Local, everybody just felt a lot of compassion and sadness. And so time goes on, 17 years later. Of course, they did all the checks, the forensic checks. Thank God they took the evidence, because she was raped and beaten. And of course, the person or people that did this, I think it was multiple people, left their calling card. Do I have to say more? And physical evidence, and in the way of also fingerprint on that plastic bag. But the guy was not in the database because he hadn't been arrested yet. Well, Knucklehead gets arrested, and the feds did every so many years, I guess, they check the cold cases and they check the fingerprints, the updated database, and sure enough, they got a hit. And this guy Eaton lives in Palatine, 37 years old. He's at a job at a bank, living the good life, right? You know, of course, he never forgot what he did, but oh, he got away with it. Well, not. So they followed him around, and they got DNA evidence off the cigarette that he threw away. He had no idea that he was being watched and surveilled. That's how they got him. And and of course, the coward that he is, not guilty. I didn't do it, even though there's a fingerprint and a thumbprint and all that. Now they think that there were more people involved because saliva evidence. There's other evidence at the scene, and there's one other suspect. And they won't name. So the coward is, he tries all his maneuvers and ends up having to plead no contest. And because of the evidence found at the scene, they're trying to coax him into telling, come on, who else was involved in this? There is one other suspect, that is, they just don't have enough physical evidence to arrest him and try him, I guess. And it's ongoing, which is promising, but I'll see if I can find out who that is. That might be, it might be easy to deduce if someone's familiar with the circle of people. But that's where the case stands. And over here is somewhere over here. Oh, here it is her grave. Amber Creek was reburied. I don't know if she was reburied here or if she was Jane Doe from another cemetery near here and brought over, but they got her a new headstone. So many good people really donated money and time. The mother didn't even go to the trial. She said she was so distraught. I feel bad for her. She's not an evil person, but I don't know her, but I have to surmise that she is feeling so guilty and responsible for letting all of this happen since this poor girl was born. And I don't think the father feels much better. I mean, he dropped her off at the I can't say he gave up on her. You just don't know the circumstances, what people are going through. I'm sure they're not bad people, but man, oh man, how can you dump your child off at the police station and say, hey, adios? That's unimaginable. I don't care if I didn't have a dime to my name. One thing I find interesting, by the way, is again, she was buried here. Her parents, I gotta believe, didn't have anything to do with burying her. I mean, it was the state, the people, the local people, but if you look, not that it matters, but it's probably one of the worst places to be in the cemetery. It's probably the cheapest plot. I just found it interesting. She's about 3 feet from the gravel road here. You come in. Easy to find, but that's what happens. A pauper's grave, right? Just interesting. Anyway, she's here now. She's resting in peace. She's got justice. And Amber, you didn't deserve it. You certainly didn't deserve it, and you're loved by many. Rest in peace.